We welcome you to another edition of Snap the Pigskin. The NFL season has officially arrived. We're going to get set for the next 6 or 7 months of incredible football action, all the way to February. My math might be wrong there, but this is Snap the Pigskin, and this is the 2024 NFL season. Noah Clark joined by Kedrick Stumbris, home of the Sconnie Six Pack, and back from vacation as well. This man was in Cancun, living it up. I saw a lot of pictures on Twitter. You're having a blast out there. How was it?
It was a great time, apart from the time you were texting me, scolding me for not texting you back about random NFL aggregator accounts. No, it was a great time. Took a a very expensive vacation I would have never booked with cash in my life. So it was phenomenal. And now but it doesn't beat sitting in a room in Milwaukee talking on my computer with you, Noah, for sure. Definitely not as good as enjoying the sunny beaches of Mexico for 11 days.
11 days. It's fun. I'm going to San Diego in October, so I'm just ready to enjoy the sun for at least a little bit more.
I've heard many people call San Diego the Cancun of the Western United States.
It's so beautiful. Oh my God. It's so beautiful. Well, I went there in 2019 pre-COVID, and we stayed out. We had like an Airbnb, which was it was a 2-minute walk to the beach every day. So like every morning I'd wake up, see the sunset. And then on top of that too, I got to go to the Rose Bowl as well, so I got to stay at 2 extra days. But that's neither here or there. Let's get right into, however, the NFL season, because there was a lot that's happened, a lot of news before week 1 starts on Sunday. And we start with the San Francisco 49ers. Kedrick, the Niners, somehow, some way, they pulled it off yet again. John Lynch somehow got it done after months of holding out and months of not seeing these two back on the field. Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams both get deals done. Brandon Aiyuk's deal, $76 million guaranteed for 4 years, giving him basically now a 5-year deal because he already had a year at the end of his rookie deal as well. So that is huge. He is the 6th highest paid wide receiver in the league. Debo and Aiyuk are both going to be here for the next couple years in San Fran. But what also makes this huge for San Fran as well is Trent Williams got an extension as well. They reworked his deal for a 3-year extension, $48 million guaranteed at his signing. And this was also too, he didn't have any more guaranteed money left at the end of his previous deal as well. So that was something to be really behold. But also too, Ricky Pearsall, their rookie wide receiver, and got into a little bit of got in an accident. He got shot in the chest, and it was a robbery attempt over a Rolex. And for those of you that have listened to this show, or if you know your watches, a Rolex is a pretty nice watch. I mean, it could go somewhere for like
people who listen to this show know about Rolexes. That's the point there. We're people a Rolex who listen to this show now.
Who love watches. What? I don't know where we're going, but
you're struggling, man. You've been monologuing for a minute here, and you got watch brain now.
I've been monologuing for a bit. So let's talk about this though. The Niners. Oh my goodness, they have had the headlines the last week or so, and now the big thing is they look like they're going to be a contender once again. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. If they got Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk back, this team is very much in contention for a Super Bowl. They get those guys back. This is a team that right now is potentially a favorite to win the NFC West and maybe win the NFC this year.
Yeah. I don't think the Brandon Aiyuk contract is as big of a deal as getting Trent Williams done. Granted, if the Aiyuk contract had not been done before Ricky Pearsall being a victim of this shooting in a robbery, and I laugh only because it is such a wacky coincidence, right? Not wacky whimsical, but like wacky. I cannot believe this. This happens just days after the Aiyuk deal gets done. Not to make like light of the situation necessarily, but imagine the kind of leverage Aiyuk would have had if he had waited a couple of days after.
Oh yeah.
Like truly bananas. Imagine how SOL this team would have been if Ricky Pearsall had been shot and then you have to wait for him to come back. And oh yeah, by the way, you're still in a contract dispute with Brandon Aiyuk. Now, I think there's an alternative world in which Aiyuk sees this happen and is, emotionally compelled to get a deal done as well. There's another side of that. Just a real weird, I don't know if that's a alternative reality worth contemplating or not. I don't know. But as I said during the NFC West preview episode, the Trent Williams deal is a lot bigger of a deal, right? Any metric that you look at for the San Francisco offense with and without Trent Williams on, it's night and day. I mean, no, what do you think is the bigger news story here? And let's leave out the Ricky Pearsall of it all, because obviously a huge story and a huge, potentially life altering event for several people. But what do you think what do you see as the bigger signing here? Aiyuk getting the deal done or Trent Williams getting the deal done?
Well, I think we've had this conversation, and I'm on the board with you about Trent Williams. This is with Trent Williams getting the bag and getting this new extension. Mm-hmm. It's huge for the Niners, because after Trent Williams, you don't really have the offensive line significantly drops in terms of ranking. They're one of the top offensive lines with Williams in the lineup. But then when he's not in the lineup, it is probably middle of the pack by, mid 20s offensive line.
Yeah. And it's not even just that they don't really have, a great backup behind him. It's just like, it's Trent Williams at left tackle. And then guys, having him there is huge. We talked about on the NFC West preview show that in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, they average 1.5 yards fewer on runs to the right than runs to the left, where you have Trent Williams blocking at left tackle. In the 4 games that Trent Williams did not appear in at least half of the offensive snaps for the 49ers last season, in those 4 games, the 49ers were 0-4. Granted, one of those games was the Week 17 game in which there were no stakes. 49ers already had the number 1 overall seed locked up. But still, the 4 games that Trent Williams was held out because of injuries, those are 4 of your 5 regular season losses last year. It's a small sample size sport. That's a small sample size stat. But that is portending doom if you do not have Trent Williams on the field. Now he's got to get ready for a pretty significant Week 1 matchup with who the hell are they playing this week? With the Jets. And that's not a bad Jets defense, as we've chronicled over the last year and a half. So huge deal for San Francisco to get that done. Shall we move on to other wide receivers who have or have not gotten deals done the last week?
Well, while Brandon Aiyuk got his deal, I mean, I'll say one more thing about the Trent Williams thing, and it does pertain to Ricky Pearsall. Have you so the news when Ricky Pearsall got shot was huge to Trent Williams. It inspired him because he got so emotional about it that he came back and he went to John Lynch and he said, "Hey, let's try and work a deal out and let's get this thing done, because I want to see my guy Ricky be able to play for our team." And so that's a really great story right there. But while 2 guys get an extension, 1 guy is still looking for an extension, Mr. Ja'Marr Chase. Now, he did show up to practice. A few days ago. Is he going to be ready by Sunday? It's up in the air right now. But for the moment, Ja'Marr Chase does not look like he will be playing Week 1. And it's only because right now does not have a deal, does not have a contract on the table. Ja'Marr Chase has 1 year left on his rookie contract with a 5th year option as well. And so, or including that 5th year option. So there is a lot to look at from while the side of it for the Niners is it's great. They got their wide receivers. Bengals right now they're struggling because T. Higgins right now frustrated, probably not going to get a new deal. They let Tyler Boyd go this offseason. Now you got Jamar Chase coming in here and potentially holding out into the regular season. And that's a big risk. And especially for the Bengals, who need to get off the mat ready to go and ready to go for this season. I don't know what Cincinnati's doing here, but we've talked about this before. Paul Brown and the Bengals, they are very frugal about what they do for this team in terms of signing players to deals.
Yeah, I found it enlightening that Chad Johnson went publicly on the record this past week and said he's got to sit out week 1. It's the only way deals get done there.
Or excuse me, Mike Brown.
Yes. But yeah, Chad Johnson going out there and clearly has a lot of feelings about his time in Cincinnati still, and wide receivers getting paid there. Man, I don't know what's going to happen here because it is Wednesday the 4th at just shy of 4:30 p.m. and Jamar Chase did participate in the Wednesday practice when typically that's game day install, but that's the first time he's participated in most practice activities. Joe Burrow seems to just be publicly supporting Jamar Chase in whatever he decides to do, which I guess makes sense. Those two have been, side by side for a decade now. And I don't know if there's a bigger, if Cincinnati hasn't shot themselves in the foot more here than any other team. You have very publicly over the last year said with your words and actions, Jamar is the guy we are going to go in on giving the deal to. We franchise tag T. Higgins. We let Tyler Boyd go. We are going all in on the connection between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And now here you are kind of letting this wide receiver have the leverage over you for you to get the deal done. And that's not a fun place to be in for a team that really needs to do something this year, because otherwise without him, right, you're going to have Jermaine Burton, a rookie, have to take on a much bigger role in this offense as basically wide receiver 2. T. Higgins, I think, can substitute as wide receiver 1, but is Jermaine Burton ready to step in to be wide receiver 2 instead of wide receiver 3 role on this team? One comment I found really interesting from Adam Schefter earlier today on Wednesday the 4th was that he posed the rhetorical question going back to last offseason when Joe Burrow got his reworked contract done. He said, do you all remember when Joe Burrow's contract extension was announced? Noah, do you happen to remember this?
I do.
When was that?
It was a few days before the regular season, wasn't it?
It was 11 minutes past kickoff of that week 1 Thursday night game between the Chiefs and the Lions. Just so happened to happen, minutes into the first quarter of the first game of the NFL season. So it's not like this couldn't go on a few days longer. It is an interesting hypothetical to see if that would happen. Bengals are very public about the fact they have game plans ready for if Jamar Chase plays or does not play. I don't know that we're going to know until Saturday, Sunday, what that's going to be. Noah, do you have any inklings, any gut feelings about how that might play out?
I mean, it's a tough situation that Cincinnati is putting themselves in. And Mike Brown, I think we've said this before on this show, historically, he has not been good with the players in terms of keeping players on contract or trying to pay players the right amount of money. And this is another case of it too. I mean, and you have a guy in Jamar Chase that is an incredible player. Jamar Chase is one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. He deservedly needs the money. And I said deserve twice, but he definitely should get the money. You already paid for Joe Burrow. And if you're paying for Joe Burrow, you at least would want to pay a number 1 wide receiver for Joe Burrow, because if you don't, then next year you're going to have Jermaine Burton and Andre Ioshivas, who are your 2 wide receivers potentially for next season. And it would not fit this team well if they were to have that situation happen. I mean, I feel like they will get this done, but I just think too, if you're Mike Brown, like, dude, like grow up and just sign the guy. Like,
Yeah. Well, let's move on to what that contract might look like a little bit, because we got a good insight to it from the Dallas Cowboys this past week. And I think this deal got done the day we published our previous show. And that's CeeDee Lamb getting the deal in Dallas. Becomes the second highest paid wide receiver, behind only Justin Jefferson. He gets $34 million in average annual value, the largest signing bonus for a wide receiver ever at $38 million. Huge deal. Perhaps portending where that comes from, where that money comes in at for Jamar Chase. Is he trying to get, middle? I imagine that he's going to try to middle the CeeDee and Justin Jefferson deal. Noah, thoughts on the CeeDee Lamb contract come down?
Boy, it's a big, I think that's a good signing that Dallas was able to get this done. I do think that CeeDee, like even I've said this too, CeeDee's a top 10 wide receiver in the National Football League. Last year, he broke he broke a bunch of Cowboys records. He was unbelievable last year for the Dallas Cowboys, and he definitely deserved the money that he should be getting. And it does bode a lot of questions. One being, what the heck happens with Micah Parsons now? What does his deal look like, given the fact that, well, now you gave CeeDee all this money? What are you going to use? How much money now are you going to pay Micah Parsons? Because we've talked about this before. If he's an edge rusher or a pass rusher and they decide to franchise tag him, it could be a little bit more expensive if either one. Now, the other big question too is what the heck happens with Dak Prescott? And like, I think for Dak, like we talked about this before, like if they sign either CeeDee or Micah Parsons, Dak's not coming back. And this is now showing that it is a real possibility that Dak Prescott may be playing his last as a Cowboy, potentially his last season as a Cowboy in Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know that the CeeDee deal moved my thinking on that too much. But I think the lack of a deal for Dak here is changing my thinking.
It's glaring.
He seems very clear that he doesn't want to negotiate during the season. And I don't think that the Cowboys I think the Cowboys are putting a firm foot down of, we don't think you deserve $60 million a year because you haven't gotten far enough in the playoffs for us. Whether you think that is a reasonable stance or not to have, we can debate it. I think it's probably not reasonable, considering Dak was an MVP caliber player last season, but I've made that argument 100 times on the show already. I think Dak wants to reset the market with his deal. I don't think the Cowboys are willing to reset the market with his deal. You bring up Micah Parsons, right? If you give this money, $34 million in average annual value to CeeDee Lamb, if you make Micah Parsons the highest paid edge rusher in the league, he's going to have to come in at a number about $35 million in average annual value, just above Nick Bosa. And I think Dak, the deal he wants is probably reset the market kind of money. When guys like Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Jared Goff are getting $55 million a year, you're going to tell me that Dak Prescott, based on all he's achieved, more than that, those guys, he doesn't deserve closer to the $60 million a year ballpark? You give all those guys that sums of money, that's about 40% of your cap. Like, that is committing to a big three on your core that, if you're not convinced, can get you to a Super Bowl. I don't know. Maybe you say, Dak, you have to go out there and prove it for us this year in 2024, and they risk losing him in the offseason doing that. I don't know. It's a bold move, given that seems to be the route that the Cowboys are going to go this offseason.
Yeah, or
this upcoming season.
Yeah,
into next offseason.
Yeah, it's a bold move, and I even think too, like it just, to me, I think it would be, and this is on my stance, I think it would be a mistake for the Cowboys if they let Micah Parsons walk. I think it would be a mistake from letting Micah Parsons walk. I mean, Micah Parsons, potentially maybe one of the greatest pass rushers in the Dallas Cowboys franchise since DeMarcus Ware. They haven't had a pass rusher like this since DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah.
And if they were to let that walk out because they want to pay a guy who's only won like 2 playoff games, probably on my finger, 2-3 playoff games in his entire career, it would be a big mistake by Jerry Jones. And I think a very big FU to Cowboys fans for not paying Micah Parsons, because then you look at it in free agency. Oh my God, he's going to get so much interest from teams, and someone is going to shell out for him. And thank God, you pray to God that it isn't the Bears, but it's a possibility that like some team is going to throw the bag for him if he becomes a free agent. And I just think for Dallas that it would be so stupid for them to give Dak all this money and just say, okay, Micah, we have no more money. We're going to let you go to free agency. You can test the market. If you want to come back, you're going to have to go to our asking price. Like that I just think Jerry Jones that would be just such a boneheaded move from Jerry Jones.
I think they're just stuck between a rock and a hard place, because what is the point of signing CeeDee and Micah Parsons to these big deals if you don't have a quarterback in place? Like what at that, like otherwise, why are you giving them all this money if you are effectively having to rebuild because you don't have an answer at the quarterback position? Why give out these top of the market position or top of the market contracts at these other positions? They are just kind of stuck right now, I think, and it doesn't make a ton of sense. I think in a different era, 5-10 years ago, the right answer would be you call Micah Parsons a defensive end. You can put him on the franchise tag, right? You have that fight like Jimmy Graham and the Saints over tight end, wide receiver, and you slide them a little bit of money. It's not like the Cowboys are afraid of using the franchise tag. They used it on Zeke for however many millions of years. They've used it before that too, but nobody plays on the franchise tag in the NFL anymore. Players are just say, no, I'm good. Like I will sit out regardless if that means that I sit out an entire season, a la Le'Veon Bell. I don't know. It's hard. I think they're stuck. They don't have a great answer right now. But Noah, unless you have other big burning thoughts about the Dallas Cowboys, shall we move on to our big season predictions?
Yeah, I mean, man, Jerry Jones is going to be shooting himself in the foot a year from now when he decides to pay Dak all that money and lets Micah walk. That's all I'm going to say on that. But
could be big season from Dak may mean he doesn't get just 60 mil, right? We could be talking 65. We could be talking big money, and then you're rebuilding that Cowboys defense from the ground up. All right, let's move on to segment 2. We are going to predict the playoffs before we predict some individual games in segment 3 in our pigskin picks for the week. Noah, you and I have predicted almost all of the divisions together, our division winners together. This
all but one.
Yes. Because you had to sit out for our NFC East, AFC East preview episode, but we're going to go back, recap our division winners, give you who we think is going to win the wild cards, and then who takes the cake in the big game, the Super Bowl. Have a little bit of fun debating about it along the way as a little bit of a recap for who we think is going to win those divisions. I have the Lions winning the NFC North. So does Noah. I have the Cowboys winning the NFC East. Noah, who do you have winning the NFC East? Give me a little bit of why I said on the NFC East preview show, I think there's quite a bit of problems afoot after, a Aaron Rodgers McCarthy-esque split between Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni over the end of last season. You got new coordinators on both sides of the ball. I think the Eagles don't got it this year. I have a lot of faith in the high end talent of the Dallas Cowboys to end up rising up above that, who I think are the 2 top teams in that division. But who do you think takes the NFC East?
So I had the Eagles winning this division. I mean, the Eagles, they completely redid their entire staff. They completely retooled, the defensive coordinator position and the offensive coordinator position. And you got 2 maybe of the best in the NFL potentially at their respective position at offensive coordinator and at defensive coordinator. Vic Fangio, dude, I've been a big Vic Fangio lover. I've been big on Vic Fangio because his defenses are just so incredible. Now,
Mm-hmm.
even though the Packers, yes, when they brought in a certain someone to try and bring that system there, did not work well. But the only reason it didn't work well is because it wasn't Vic Fangio. And Vic Fangio is the only guy who knows how to make his defense work. And I think when you look at the side that they have, those playmakers that they have all these, pass rushers. You got all the cornerbacks on there. It makes a good side for the defense. On the offensive side, Kellen Moore, keep in mind, like before he went to the Chargers, Kellen Moore had the number one offense in the National Football League when he was with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's not forget about that. And now he comes back to try and maybe potentially save Nick Sirianni's career and give Jalen Hurts maybe another shot at a Super Bowl. And I like the way the Eagles are coming into this season. I mean, they got Saquon Barkley this year to help the running game. You do lose Jason Kelce, which is a big loss for that front five on the O-line, but you still got that core of skill players. You still got AJ Brown, you still got Devontae Smith, you still have Dallas Goedert, and you added Saquon Barkley, and you still have Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this team. I think it's going to be back and forth between the Eagles and the Cowboys. I don't even see the Giants or the Commanders trying to keep pace with what these two teams have. But at the end of the day, I think the Eagles are going to come out on top, and we're going to see once again a different division winner in that NFC East.
Yeah, I think you have more faith in that offense turning it around from the end of last season than I do. I think that ideological split that we see happening between Sirianni and Jalen Hurts is really big. I think we saw Jalen Hurts trying to do more than he's equipped to do from like a play calling standpoint last season. And with Jason Kelce out, I think Jalen Hurts is going to feel even more empowered to do more this season. Kellen Moore comes in with an offense that runs a lot of pre-snap motion. Sirianni last year ran some of the lowest rates of pre-snap motion in the league. It's like big changes that I just don't know if it works right away. So I get it. I do. I just don't know if the fit's going to work right away in the NFC East. But let's move on to other places of agreement. In the NFC South, we both have the Falcons winning the division. In the NFC West, we both have the 49ers winning the division. In the AFC, I took the Bengals in the North. You took the Ravens in the North. The AFC East, I took the Dolphins. You happened to also take the Dolphins to win the division. I think every team in this division has a ton of question marks. Noah, you weren't on this episode talking about this, but why did you end up taking the Dolphins to win the AFC East?
Well, I think with Miami, the Bills, I think are going to take a step back this year. And it's only because the Bills really didn't really have an exciting, thrilling offseason this year.
Well, that happens when you're $100 bajillion.
Yeah, but it's also too, they had to gut their entire roster because they were severely over the cap. So they this year, I think, while they still have Josh Allen and Sean McDermott's there, they could make some magic as the head coach as the head coach quarterback duo for this group. I just don't think that they don't have a safety core. They don't have a wide receiving core. The running back position probably is your strongest. You lose, you do kind of gain, a little bit of that athletic flair with Keon Coleman, but you don't get all of that in terms of route running with Keon Coleman that you drafted with your first pick. And I mean, it just, the Bills overall, the Bills this year, I think are going to take a step back. I think Miami's ready to go win now. I think they have all the pieces that they need to go and compete for a AFC division title. And Mike McDaniel right now, hottest coach out there, with the hottest offense. And I mean that in not the way that you're thinking of right now, Kedrick, but either way, like this offense is fun. It's fast, it's high flying. And I think that the Dolphins, to me, they get my pick to win the AFC East this year.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about the Buffalo's defense, and like so much so with questions on that roster, I considered not even picking them to get a wild card as a little bit of a preview to my take there. Like, they could go, and that New York Jets secondary is pretty damn good, right? Like, are they going to have a hard time protecting the ball there? Now, do I think the Jets are going to be able to push the ball down the field against a questionable Buffalo secondary? No, I don't necessarily think so. But like, I don't know. It's the most question marks I have for the Buffalo Bills under Josh Allen, basically ever since his rookie season. Yeah. In the AFC South, we both took the Texans. West, we both took the Chiefs. So, Noah, give me your NFC wild card winners. I have, as everyone knows, I wrote down my playoff picks on an index card last week over here. So I'm set to go. We will keep track of who ends up being right, picking these wild card winners in our eventual Super Bowl matchup and champion. So, Noah, who do you have coming out with wild cards in the NFC?
So very interesting stuff here in the NFC. So right now, the Packers got the first wild card. I think Green Bay is going to get the first wild card spot. I think they're on that edge of trying to get up to par with the Lions, trying to compete with the Lions, but I don't think they're there just yet. However, I do think they'll make the playoffs again this year. I think they'll get that wild card spot, and they're just going to be a pain in everybody's side. And so
I do too. I think they have just too much talent to not get at least 9 wins. I think should be a guaranteed playoff spot, basically.
Yeah,
and I think there's I think there's a pretty realistic scenario where they get 10 wins, and I don't think that requires a lot of imagining. Yeah, I also have Green Bay taking one of my wild card spots. Noah, who is your wild card 2 in the NFC playoff?
Oh man, so wild card 2 is going. Excuse me. My wild card 2 is going to be the Rams. I think the Rams are going to sneak in somehow. I think LA with Matthew Stafford and that offense and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, they're going to sneak in somehow. The Rams are a sneaky team. Like, I think down the stretch, they're going to find a way to just get a string of wins going and find themselves in a position to get that playoff spot. And I think they're going to get that second playoff spot.
I think so too. That is also who my wild card number 2 is. I have a lot of faith in that offense. I think their offensive line is going to be slightly improved. I think their skill talent positions are slightly improved. They are making that change at defensive coordinator. They are losing Aaron Donald. So there are certainly questions. But I have a lot of faith in the Rams being able to win that division. Noah, who is your third wild card? Our plucky underdog, our potential Green Bay Packers first third wild card to win a playoff game. Who do you have taking that third wild card position from the NFC?
You're going to be surprised. You may be surprised or may not, but
I hate this because I think I do know, and I'm not.
I think you already know who I'm going to pick. It's going to be the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, same.
Why
you saw it? I held it up there for a second.
See, Sam says the same thing, but it's like we have the same. We just finish each other's sentences. But no, I got Chicago making the playoffs here too. I think they get the last wildcard spot. The big thing is though, they have to string together a bunch of wins early, and they have to win early, and they have to win by a bunch.
8 weeks of the season, you play all 6 of your divisional games. You also play the 49ers in that stretch. From the jump now until November 1st, that team's got to be go, 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 go. I don't know for sure if that's going to happen. I think the way this wildcard 3 pick does not work out is because Caleb Williams takes more time to warm up than expected, but this team has a pretty soft schedule to begin with. I think they could take advantage of it. I don't think there's any other NFC team screaming to be picked as a third wild card. Maybe Tampa Bay is out there and we're sliding them a little bit. But yeah, I don't necessarily, I guess I didn't pick the Eagles to make the playoffs. Maybe that's a team out there that deserves it. You didn't pick the Cowboys to make the playoffs. So maybe that's where we slip up. But yeah, I as someone who picked the same wild cards, great picks. All right, Noah, moving on to the AFC wild cards. Who do you have coming out as your non-division winners in the AFC playoff?
Oh man, this was tough. This was the AFC is just, it's so tough every year. So So for the wild card for the AFC to start, oh man, this is so hard. This is so hard for me to even think about this. Oh God. The Indianapolis Colts, I think,
Ooh, all right.
I think the Indianapolis Colts somehow sneak in. They were so close last year to getting into the playoffs as a wild card, and they missed it this year. I think they get over that hump and they get into the playoffs. It's going to be dicey here in the AFC South.
That's a spicy pick. I have too many questions, I think, about Indy's defense to be able to pick them. I am not sold on Anthony Richardson. I think he's still pretty high variance and don't know if he's going to come back and look 100% fully healthy like he did before. I did not pick Indianapolis as a wild card team, but
I'll tell you what, though, Kedrick, if they can't go with Anthony Richardson, Joe Flacco back-to-back playoff appearances. I mean,
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Noah, who else you got taking a wild card here?
So you're also going to be stunned by this as well. The Jacksonville Jaguars make it in as well. This is I wanted to keep. I am just the Jacksonville Jaguar trade. I keep trying to not draw myself into the Jaguar hype every single year. And since they got Trevor Lawrence, they have been a fun team to watch. They have been a team that every year has become more and more fascinating. And they missed the playoff. They made the playoffs last year.
No, they did not.
Or excuse me, sorry, they missed the playoffs last year off of them just choking and blowing what was it? Was it 8 games, an 8-game division lead or so?
Whatever.
They were up by so much in the AFC South. And this year, I think they make it back. It's not going to be easy because, again, that South is so hard. You got the Texans, you've got the Colts. Who knows what Tennessee is going to be up to? But
that's a roster. That's a roster that's built to compete in Tennessee. If
I
got
the
quarterback that works it out, like that could be a spicy team. But I understand the Jaguars pick. I do think Trevor Lawrence is a guy who can elevate the talent around him a little bit, even though I'm not convinced by the skill talent he has. That team has suffered a ton of wide receiver drops in the end zone the last few seasons. If you go back and watch, like I could see it again, a team I do not have taking a wild card spot. But Noah, who is your third wild card out of the AFC?
I had to adjust my blinds there real quick. So, so my last pick here for the AFC is going to be, where did I have this here? So my last pick for the AFC is going to be the Cleveland Browns. I think
we have 3 completely different wild card teams.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So I have Cleveland. And it's solely because
you like them a lot. You loved that defense when we talked about them in the preseason preview. You are way higher on Cleveland than I am.
And that's why I'm going to go back to them again. I think their defense is going to be one of the key parts of this team being so successful. I mean, you have the reigning defensive player of the year in Myles Garrett. Jim Schwartz is arguably is a top 5 defensive coordinator in the National Football League. And he just makes teams' lives a living nightmare on the defensive side of the ball. You also have to keep in mind, if Nick Chubb is going to be back at some point during this year, and Jerome Ford is a very good serviceable back. And they have, that quarterback who they have that guy, Deshaun Watson. You also have Calvin Ridley and Amari Cooper still there. This is a group that I think on both sides of the ball look really good. It's going to be that defense, I think, that carries them most of the way this season. Do I think they're going to get far in the postseason? I don't think so, but, it's been a while since we've heard the term defense wins championships.
Well, my 3 wild cards, all entirely different teams. I have Baltimore making it as a wild card. You had them winning the division, so you do not have the Cincinnati Bengals making the playoffs this season. Despite the fact that they get their starting quarterback back for the first time in what feels like forever, and by Vegas projected win totals, they have the 3rd easiest schedule in the league. Noah, explain yourself.
I don't know. The Bengals, I just think I just don't know. I feel like even with Joe Burrow coming back, I think they're going to be off on the defensive side. They didn't really, they improved in some areas, but I think the pass rush is aging. They didn't really go out and improve the pass rush. Their O-line still is kind of a mess. And Joe Burrow, who knows if he's even going to be, Joe Burrow at any point too. So I think it's just very hard for me to see the Bengals. Plus, you're in the AFC North, tough division. You're also in the AFC, tough conference overall.
That team, tough division, didn't have its quarterback last year, won 9 games, finished at the bottom, right? Like, finished at the bottom of its division, winning 9 games.
Hey, but
that's a good football team.
Yeah, the Browns did it, made the playoffs with Joe Flacco, though. Like, how many other teams can say that? How many other teams can say that?
Fair enough. I also have the LA Chargers. I think we're going to get a wild card out of the AFC West. I really do.
Ground raid.
I have a lot of faith in Jim Harbaugh. I think they'll be able to figure it out. That you got some young wide receivers akin to a Green Bay Packers team from a season ago that might be able to mesh with Justin Herbert a little bit more quickly than we thought. If it's not the Chargers, and I'm not picking this team to be my third wild card, but I do want to throw this out there. I think Denver could be a wild card team.
Broncos country?
They won 8 games last year, and I don't think their quarterback situation is worse than it was a year ago with Russell Wilson and then
this coming from the guy happened down this is stretch. Coming from the guy who said hate watching the Denver Broncos quarterback.
Correct. And I don't necessarily think Bo Nix is all world, but it's a team that won 8 games last year. I think maybe is still a little bit better and could come up, sneak and get you. I'm not picking them because I think they have a really tough schedule this year, while the Chargers have the second easiest in the league by Vegas win totals. But I wouldn't be totally surprised to see Denver win an extra game this season. I think it's far more likely to see the Chargers in the playoffs, though. And then I'm going to take, and I cannot believe you said Josh Allen is not going to make the playoffs. Again, Noah, explain yourself. No, just kidding. I know
you already know. We already
talked about it, but like, I get it. I could see it. Like I said earlier in the show, I contemplated not giving Buffalo a wild card spot. I got a lot of questions about that roster as a whole on the defensive end. I don't know where they're going to get like their passing attack from, aside from Dalton Kincaid. Oh, yeah, it could be messy, but I have enough faith. We have seen when Buffalo looks washed, Josh Allen just goes nuclear sometimes. And I kind of just am betting on Josh Allen to go nuclear in a game or two and power them to the playoffs. So I get it. Noah, all right. We are going to go to our NFC and AFC representatives in the Super Bowl. Who do you got getting to the Super Bowl out of the NFC? And oh my God, if you bore me to death, I'm going to be so angry.
What define boring you to death?
We already know. So all right, tell me the 49ers are going to make the Super Bowl.
Actually, this is kind of shocking. I don't think San Francisco is a lock, but I don't want to be the homer and say this. I think Green Bay could get there.
All right, let's go.
I think Green Bay. I think Green Bay could get there. I just think, man, they've been so.
Are we locking it in? Are we locking it in?
Yeah. What the heck? Let's lock it in. Let's lock it in. I just think every time the Packers have played the Niners, they've been so damn close to beating this Niners team, and that is the only thing that gets this team to the Super Bowl and potentially winning the Super Bowl is beating the 49ers. You look in the Aaron Rodgers era, the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love era. I know Jordan Love's only played one playoff game against one playoff season in his entire NFL career, but let's put it in there. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, whenever they played the Niners in his career, he has never won a game against the San Francisco 49ers in the postseason. Same with Jordan Love. Streaks are meant to be broken. I think they find a way to break that streak, and I think they make their life. I think they finally get over that hump, and they get past the Niners, and they get into the Super Bowl.
All right. Call it an emotional hedge. After I said Chicago is going to be a playoff team as well, and the Lions winning the division, I got the Lions. I got the Lions making the Super Bowl. Jared Goff, I think it just needs to do enough. And he gets to play 14 games in a dome this season.
Yeah. Cupcake. Can you say
Like,
cupcake?
he gets to play 14 games in a dome this season. They get Ben Johnson back. I think that offense is going to be potent. I think they have enough at wide receiver to do it. They fixed their really only horrible position at cornerback. I think those guys are going to be good. I think they'll be good with rookies still on the boundary. I have less questions about their roster than I think basically anybody in the NFC except for San Francisco. And still, we saw an ultra rare efficiency season for Brock Purdy a season ago. I think he has to regress a little bit.
Please, for the love of God.
And I think ultimately you just have to see some level of a step back from San Francisco off of a year ago when they were just a statistical monster. So I have the Lions. If this Trent Williams holdout would have extended into week 1, I would have had the Lions like with a bullet. When Trent Williams signed that deal, I thought about wavering off of this pick, but I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna stick with it because I think the schedule gives the Lions the best chance at securing that number 1 seed, and will help them get to the big game. Noah, out of the AFC, who do you got?
Oh man, this is so hard. This is you're putting me on the spot here. I want to just be the
On the spot. I told you a week ago we were going to do this segment.
I just had to mess with you there. But man, I don't want to be the person that Sam Jamini is and just say Chiefs and just go full bore on the Chiefs here. But man, this is so hard. But I'm gonna be bold on this. Give me the Ravens to make it.
I like it.
Give me Lamar.
I thought about going Baltimore for a really long time on this as well. I still think that defense is going to be good. That defense is always good with John Harbaugh. I think eventually, right, the just string of luck has to not go Kansas City's way
at some point.
Right. At some point, the ball has to bounce the other direction because they've been in the Super Bowl, 5 of the last 6 seasons now? Just insane numbers. So, yeah, I understand it. I really do. I am going to go with Kansas City. I think Kansas City might be better this year than they were last year. I sat with this for a long time. I wanted to pick Baltimore, but I think Kansas City might be even better. And if I'm going to pick Kansas City to be a division winner and Baltimore to be a wild card team, in what world am I picking Lamar Jackson to go on the road into Arrowhead and outduel Patrick Mahomes? Look, I'm not smart, but I'm not an idiot. I am not picking that. Are you kidding me? Look, I think the wide receivers on this team are better than last season. Obviously, you have Xavier Worthy, you pick up Hollywood Brown. I think their fumble numbers on offense were really weird last year. They fumbled the ball more than you would expect, and I would expect that to regress back in their favor. The Chiefs were outdueled in the turnover battle in 9 games last season. You turned over the ball more than your opponents in 9 games last season, and you have Patrick Mahomes as your starting quarterback. There's no way that happens again. And they were 4-5 in those games last year. They lost 6 games total in the regular season. I think they're going to be better. Like, I don't know. Does that mean they make the Super Bowl? Not necessarily. It's a small sample size sport, but like, if they're going to be better and they already won two in a row, like,
well, and the issue with Kansas City and the issue I have is how well is their secondary going to hold up? I mean, they don't have depth.
That is a question mark.
They don't have that depth at that secondary, and Baltimore does, and Baltimore has the pass rushing on the defensive side. The only concern that I think I would have for Baltimore is how fresh is Derrick Henry going to be? Is he still going to have that juice left in him to be able to help Lamar take the pressure off of him for where he has to run so much and just have him use his arm? And I mean, like, also too, like, the Ravens were so damn close last year to getting the Super Bowl. They just had, just bad. I mean, like, they had bad luck. I mean, they had the Zay Flowers fumble, the ridiculous triple coverage throw, the non-PI call. I mean, this Ravens team, I think, got screwed out of a Super Bowl, and maybe this year they come back with a little bit of a vengeance, a little bit more of a fire. And I see Lamar. I mean, I see Lamar potentially winning a postseason series, man. I just, on the road to at Arrowhead. I mean, Joe Burrow did it.
I could see it happen. I think my only thing that holds me back from it is how fast is that young offensive line going to gel together? Is the young offensive line going to hold up over the course of a very long season?
Yeah.
I think that's why I go the other direction, right? If I gotta go with this very young offensive line in Baltimore, that is replacing 3 starters, and it's potentially got to face Chris Jones in the playoffs. No, give me the Kansas City defensive front.
All right.
All right, you have Ravens, Ravens Packers, which by the way would have been a banger of a Super Bowl in my Madden 09 franchise from forever ago, led by Vince Young as my starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Which ended up happening. Vince Young ended up signing with the Green Bay Packers later on.
That is true.
Very weird. But Noah, who do you have as your Super Bowl champion, Green Bay or Baltimore?
This is a very tough one, but no, it's not really. Give me the Packers on this one. I mean, it's pretty. I got to go with the homer pick here. I think Lamar playing in his first Super Bowl, I think it's going to be spectacular. I think he would draw a lot of views, but I think Green Bay they have the history of just being incredible in the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl era, they've only lost 1 Super Bowl and 2
and 33.
Nope.
Or sorry, you're right. Just 33. Sorry. I don't know why I said 2.
32, actually.
I'm a dummy. Yeah. I can't count. Sorry.
Nope. No, but yeah. But no, they've only lost 1 Super Bowl. And I think when they've been in the last time they were in the Super Bowl, they were incredible. I think we're going to see another incredible performance. I think Jordan Love, this is going to potentially cement his legacy as another incredible superstar Green Bay quarterback. And it's going to piss Bears fans, Vikings fans, Niners fans, Lions fans, any fan that hates the Packers fans off. And I think the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl here.
What they really have going for them, if they make it there, is it is Super Bowl 59, which means the Packers will be wearing home greens. The Packers have never lost a Super Bowl
in home green. And you know where it's being held this year? In New Orleans. Almost Super Bowl 31.
31. Yep.
Meant to be. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna take Kansas City to 3-peat because I'm a loser.
Boo! You and Sam are on the Kansas City bandwagon here. Goodness.
What am I? If I bet against Patrick Mahomes and lose,
yes, I've done it several times. You get an adrenaline rush from it.
Nah, I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes in anytime soon. Not him and Andy Reid. Like I said, I think this Kansas City Chiefs team might be better than it was last season. Doesn't mean they can't get got, right? Like eventually your number comes. It's a small sample size sport. I could see it happening. When I originally was going to pick this game, when I was debating whether to take Baltimore in this game or not, I was going to take the Lions over the Ravens. But I will take Kansas City to beat the Lions in the Super Bowl. And yeah, talk about narrative if that happens for Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Chris Jones. Maybe
the first team in NFL history to 3-peat, which I think would be insane.
Yeah.
So
that really be.
It would only be the Chiefs. It would only be fitting that the Chiefs do that. And the team to win 3 NFL championships, though, was the Green Bay Packers before the Super Bowl era. I just had to throw that stat out there.
Yes,
anyways.
Very true.
So, all right, we're getting close to it. We're wrapping up our show here.
Let's speed run.
We're going to quickly get into this. Pigskin picks time. It is week 1 pigskin picks. So here's how it's going to go. If you've been a listener on this show, you'll know how it goes. Me and Kedrick are going to pick teams. We're going to pick who wins by how much. So if I give it for an example, if I pick, Bengals by 5, that's my score. And if Kedrick picks Bengals by 10, that's his prediction. Whoever gets the closest prediction wins that week. That's what we're going to do. But if we get the spot on one, hey, we get it spot on. And we're just going to go, every week up until the Super Bowl for our pigskin picks. So let's jump right into it, and let's start with the week 1 matchup here. Kansas City at Baltimore. The Ravens play at Arrowhead. Lamar Jackson last year lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. This year he starts his season against the Chiefs in week 1. Kedrick, what do we got for this matchup between the Chiefs and the Ravens?
I got the Chiefs by 4. You got that really young offensive line, right? Like if I have concerns about them being able to gel together and quickly enough to win the division, I got concerns about them being able to gel together enough to beat the defending Super Bowl champions, who I think might be better than last year on the road. I think Patrick Mahomes finds a way, as he always does. I got the Chiefs by 4.
I'm going to go a little bit high on this. I got Chiefs by 9. I think Mahomes and company is just overwhelming of the Ravens defense, and it's always the first matchup.
But not overwhelming enough to beat them in a playoff matchup, huh?
Correct. Yes. Correct. You, sir, are right. But I have them winning this game. I have them winning it by a lot. Look, the hype is going to be through the roof because, hey, you just won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Great vibes all around. They're going to carry those great vibes into the game against the Ravens. And I think Mahomes and that crew is going to be slinging the ball all over the park. So, all right, number 2. And we jump into this in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. The Packers and the Eagles. This is the first time that 2 teams are playing not in the United States of America for a regular season game since 1970. And it is going to be very, very, very exciting.
Do you mean in what? That doesn't make sense at all. We play games in London every year, play games in Mexico City. How is it the first time 2 teams are not playing?
Sorry, let me phrase it. In a regular season opener. I forgot to mention that part. So this is the first time since 1970 that a regular season opener has began in not in the U.S.
Sure, two teams have opened the regular season outside.
That's what I meant to say.
Got it.
Green Bay and Philadelphia will play. This is going to be very interesting. This is the number 1 and number 2 most. These are the 2 more popular fan bases. The Packers being the most popular fan base in Brazil. Mm-hmm. So it could be a great turnout here, Kedrick. What are we going to expect from these 2 teams here? Who are we picking to win this game?
I have the Eagles by 6. I am not going to pick the Packers to know how to stop a running quarterback until I see it. Yep. It's been too long. I've been burned by Colin Kaepernick and Tyler Huntley and God knows who else. No, I got the Eagles by 6. I have so many questions about the Packers cornerbacks still. And yeah, while I don't necessarily know how talented the Eagles offense is going to be right off the rip, how ready to go they're going to be. I can't pick this Packers defense to get enough stops against the Eagles and an offense like it until I see it happen. So I got the Eagles by 6 in this one.
Yeah, I think I would have picked Green Bay to win this game had they not had a couple of injuries pop up during the week. Romeo Doubs might be questionable for this game. Marshawn Lloyd is questionable for this game. They're coming in a bit banged up potentially. The Eagles right now, I think with that being known, I think Green Bay struggles. And I think the Eagles they're going to win this one. I think they're going to win this one by 7. I think it's going to be a touchdown game. I think Green Bay does keep it close. I think that defense with Jeff Hafley, they still work things out on the defensive side. I think they do keep this game close on the offensive side. But I think Eagles win this one in Brazil.
The Packers also just aren't good at these big travel games.
No, right? They are not, and I hate it.
Neutral sites, they played that week 1 stinker at a neutral site Jacksonville game against New Orleans a couple of years back, where they were
a London game against the Giants.
In London against the Giants, God. They have historically under LaFleur been bad in these season openers. Whoever's fault that is, whoever's fault it is. But last year against the Bears was the only time they've been good on the road in a season opener in quite a long time.
Since 2020.
Yeah, so I can't take the Packers to look great out of the gate. I don't know. I may or may not be able to watch this game too, because I will be at a wedding this weekend. So who knows how much football I get to watch this weekend.
That's tough, dude.
Yep.
That's tough.
Leave it to the Patriots fan to schedule his wedding this weekend, right? Well, he doesn't have a team to watch. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, that's brutal. All right, now we jump into Sunday. The Ravens and the Lions, excuse me. The Rams and the Lions.
Just trying to skip ahead to the Super Bowl there, brother.
I know, skipping well ahead of that. But the Rams and the Lions, Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford comes back to Detroit once again. That team was in the NFC playoffs. They lost last year in Detroit. They come back full circle once again, and they start the regular season in Detroit. This is going to be a loud and raucous place in Ford Field. Who do you got here, Kedrick? Rams or Lions?
I have the Lions. I have the Lions kind of big. I have the Lions by 10. I think this Rams team is good. I think they're good enough to win a wild card. I think they're just going to take a little bit of time to ramp up this season. They have a new defensive coordinator, need to install that. I don't think that they know exactly where they're going to get their pass rush from right away without Aaron Donald there. Meanwhile, the Lions look healthy coming out of camp. I have enough faith in them to predict them to make the Super Bowl. So I'm going to take the Lions kind of big here. Lions by 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm going to be with you on that one too. I think it's going to be Lions by 8 in this game. I think Detroit, they come out really ready to go. I think the Rams I think the Rams on the defensive side, they don't have Aaron Donald. How are they going to mesh? How are they going to figure out things with Aaron Donald being gone? I think that's going to be the big issue there. They're going to have issues on that pass rush. They're going to have issues in that secondary. I think the Lions are going to pounce all over this team, no pun intended, to try and get the win here. And I think they blow them out by 9. All right, sorry, 8 by 8.
Yeah, I would expect this Lions team to just be coming in. How they have evolved over the last couple of seasons just feels like they are going to come in this season on a mission every single week. So yeah, I think for a Rams team that's going to take a little bit of time, but I still think should be really good. It's maybe just too much for them right off the rip on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, and we've got Monday Night Football. Our final pigskin pick here. The Jets and the Niners. Your favorite player, Kedrick, Aaron Rodgers, is back after his Achilles injury. And he comes back to San Francisco. And Leonard Floyd potentially maybe has the chance to do the funniest thing ever because he's now in the Niners. And, we'll see what happens with the Jets. But last year, their season was a flush down the toilet. They want to erase the tape.
On Monday Night Football. We get Monday Night Football. Part 2 of the preview of the New York Jets.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is going to be fun. Now for the Niners, this is going to be their chance to really show that they could be as dominant of a team as ever. This is maybe the best Niners team in the college, one of the better Niners teams in the Kyle Shanahan era. They got almost everybody back from last year's roster to this year's roster. Niners, Jets, who you picking? I monologued for a bit there, and you're kind of judging me on the monologue, so I'll let you take the floor here.
No. Yeah, I'm gonna shock you. I'm going to take the New York Jets.
Oh,
I got the Jets by 3.
Wow.
So for everyone who wants to call me a hater, you're
picking right. Aaron Rodgers to win.
Again, I'm not familiar with that person. Call me a hater, but. I also had plenty of people telling me I didn't know ball last week, and then look what the Wisconsin Badgers did against Western Michigan.
Kedrick, no ball.
I think that I think that Trent Williams, I almost said Tristan Wirfs, different TW left tackle, in the NFC. I think that Trent Williams not getting back until this late in the season is big or this late in the offseason is really big for San Francisco. I don't think that offense is going to be completely ready to go. He has not been practicing with the team. That's a hard position to jump in and just play NFL football right off the rip. The Jets don't have a terrible roster. I think they have a secondary that is going to challenge Brock Purdy. And that Jets team is ready, has been ready for a full year and a half now to be able to actually show the league what it has and didn't get that chance to do it last year. I got the Jets in this one, and maybe that's weird, but I think there's just too much weirdness going on in San Francisco. Maybe they go up and they pull one out for Ricky Pearsall, and that's a big motivating factor for them. But I have enough faith in the Jets to be able to just push the right buttons on defense to get it done, particularly when like you have pieces missing on the defensive side for San Francisco as well. Like I got the Jets by 3. I don't know why, just a little bit. I mean, I do know why. I just said for like 2 minutes why. But I got the Jets by 3.
Oh man, dude, you're giving, I just because of that, I'm going Jets here. We're going Jets. No, I'm just kidding. I actually had the Jets to begin with either way. I had Jets by 4. Jets by 4. I think Aaron Rodgers,
I'm skeptical that you have this picked as well.
This is a big time storyline moment for Aaron Rodgers. How awesome would it be for him to come back in his very first game after that Achilles injury and just come out and play, his gut out against, and also his Achilles against the Niners. I think also too, I'm not a big fan of the Niners. I also think that they are still going to try to be working things out with their group. And I think that Jets defense, very, very good on that defensive side. They got a lot of star power. And I think that star power from the Jets can make it very hard for Brock Purdy and the Niners. I got Jets winning this one by 4.
Yeah, I mean, Drake Greenlaw still being out. Fred Warner missed practice today, Wednesday, with a foot injury. It doesn't seem like it's going to hold him out of the game, but like, I don't know. I think there's enough question marks to make me feel anxious enough to take the Jets here. But next week we are going to be alternating who picks when, because you just so happened to pick the same side as me every time, and just so happened to pick it by, I guess the Lions game I picked a little bit of a bigger win for the Lions, but every other game you're like, I'm just gonna go a point or two bigger.
See, Sam did the same thing to me the last 2 years. He's always like, why are you always copying my picks? It's like, I'm not copying your picks. I just happen to have the pick first. You just happen to go first. So.
Well, next time we got to do like a double blind experiment here. You got to mail me an envelope with your picks weekly.
I'll send it by carrier pigeon.
Please do.
Oh man. So with that does it for us here today. If you want to watch more of our episodes or listen to us, feel free to watch us here on YouTube at Snap the Pigskin, www.youtube.com, Snap the Pigskin. Give us a like and subscribe if you find our channel. And also, too, listen to our podcast as well. If you want to listen to it in audio form and don't want to see our faces, that's okay. But you can still listen to our voices. We have us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, any other music stuff. You can listen to us. We got you. So with that, Noah Clark alongside Kedrick Stumbris, this has been another edition of Snap the Pigskin.